Good morning, everyone. I'm going to give my camera just a little adjustment here. So, oh, sorry about that. Let's see. We want to be able to see everything we can down there, all the way up to my hands, so it gets tricky. Very good. Yay. Nice to see Lois and so many other people here that I recognize your names and that we've practiced together for a while already. That's nice. Um, We will need, if you have it, a block would be nice. And see if I can get there we go. We're just a little, there we go. Okay. Oh, it wants to keep settling a little bit. Maybe if we do that. What was I going to say? I would like to have a block, and then I've got my strap here for Movement Lab today. Yeah, that's going to work okay. Yeah, so we worked a little bit last week. We started out the month with kind of a self-care theme, and we're going to continue that. I'm going to go kind of from the bottom up, kind of working with different parts of the body, and keeping in mind that this is so that we can take care of our body, and so we're not interested in kind of no pain, no gain things. Last week we did feet and shins, kind of the lower leg as part of our theme. We also worked a lot with grounding. Feeling grounded helps us feel a lot more calm in the mind. That's almost a theme every time we're practicing. Sometimes I'll take that in different ways. So today we're going to work a little more with knees and hips, having those parts of the body in mind and keeping them in alignment, keeping them happy. So that'll be where we're headed today. And we'll see what else kind of comes out of that as far as self-care, just being able to breathe, being able to connect inward a lot. A lot. We talked about that last week in my classes, just this practice and how we're practicing it is even more valuable, I think, than what we actually do. It's how we're doing it. And in my Pilates and strength, we did kind of mini routines and just checking in, and the whole piece that maybe if you're like me, I tend to want to just go like, oh, I don't need to do that today, or I'm not gonna, and then it's just 10 minutes or just getting started, and I feel a lot better, a lot more connected to my purpose, a lot more connected to my motivations, my intentions. So I think that's a big reason to come to this practice. So we're gonna just start with nothing, just come to standing. Got my props nearby, but I just want to warm up my shoulders, even though we're headed toward knees and hips. Of course, I don't want to leave the upper body out of this or the core. So we'll do a nice, well-rounded practice. Hope everybody's feeling okay this morning. Got some good rest. And if you didn't, maybe you can set up the day to get some good rest tonight or even a nap. Go the other way with your arms, warming up in the shoulders, and then soften your knees a little to settle into the feet. Maybe checking out how that feels in the face, how your jaw is set. What is the movement in the eyes? I'm going to go back to the first direction. I'm going to keep going until I get a little more. I'm starting to feel a little bit of that ache in the arm muscles doing this. That's okay. Just waking things up. And I'm moving in a way that the shoulders aren't doing a lot of, sometimes I'll get a little crunchiness in one side or the other, kind of keeping my arms a little bit lower. If I go higher, that tends to, I can explore it. Things are getting warm. So you can start low with the hands in those circles and then kind of experiment with going a little bit bigger in your circles up high. Whew. All right. And then take that out a little bit. Let's get the breath moving and also move the spine. We'll do some half salutes. So again, softening my knees, feeling the feet, inhaling here. Exhaling, take your arms out and up. Inhaling, coming forward. All the way forward like that. Exhale, bring your hands to the knees into a gorilla pose. We're going to inhale forward, downward. And exhale, arms out and up. And bringing the arms back down again. Let's do that a couple more times. Inhale here. Exhale, arms out and up. Inhale forward. Exhale, gorilla. Softness in the back of the neck. Inhale forward. Nice deep breath. Exhale, arms out and up. Inhale, arms down. Exhale, arms out and up. Inhale, forward fold. Exhale, gorilla. Inhale, forward fold. Exhale all the way up. And bringing the arms back down, inhale. Good. Okay, I'm going to jump into a practice that will give you, I'm going to make one little adjustment here, give you a little window into some of the muscle groups we want to work today. See if this gives me a little more brightness here in my face. Yeah, that's a little better. So the block and the strap, if you don't have these, that's okay. The elastic tied tightly could work as well. And I'm going to step into my band and put that above my knees. So make sure you're way above the knee. And then I'm going to take my block and put that between the knees. So I'm going to have to give myself a little space here. And again, if you only have the block, you can still do what I'm suggesting here. This is a little more setup than sometimes we do. But I think it's kind of a nice way to check in. Now you can move your block whatever way seems to be the most available for squeezing the block between the knees. So for my body build, this is fine. I have my feet underneath me, the block between the knees, my long strap here, and that strap around my thighs. So let's see how we line up. Squeezing into your block with your knees, and then seeing if you can also do a little pushing outward into your strap. So there might be a just right spot for that, making a little adjustment or giving yourself a little more to push against. And just notice how that feels in the body. It's really interesting, isn't it? What tries to turn on to push outward, and then yet I'm trying to keep that pressure at least somewhat inward toward that block. And then release everything and let everything go. Maybe your block falls down, maybe not. And you can always experiment with this, especially if you've had knee or hip things in the past. It can kind of be an interesting thing to work with, because we know what supports our knees, right, are these muscles on the side, the muscles on the front, the muscles in the back. So we've got this whole 3D part of our, so a little bit wider here. I'm just experimenting for myself. Hurts my knees a little bit more here, so I can't squeeze as much. And then can I still push outward into my band? 3, 2, 1, and release. So let's take that out, all of those things away, and come to your standing position. Go a little wider, perhaps, than you were. Just a little bit. You'll notice, I guess I'm, if I was going to be in line with my hips. That's right here. So I'm a little, the inside of my foot is there. And I'm going to see if I can do that without anything. So knees working inward, thighs pressing outward. Can you play with that a little bit and notice how energized the legs get? And maybe there's a little shakiness going on with that too, kind of tapping into some neurons and asking our muscles to do things we maybe haven't done for a while. And then release. So you can't see that I'm doing very much, but as we attempt that, you're probably feeling a little bit too. So I'm not doing it so much that my knees come in, right? I'm going to pretend I've got something to push against, and the same thing outward. I have something to push against. Here we go. One more time, holding that. My knees tend to bend a little bit, so I'm going to just see how straight I can be and yet still doing this. 3, 2, 1, and release. Now we can do that in the grocery line. We can do that whenever we're waiting for something, maybe at the kitchen sink. So kind of giving ourselves that extra energy, a little more connection, grounding, all those nice things. Let's take that into some squatting, just taking the shins forward. And we don't have to add all of what we just did, but perhaps we're feeling a little more connected in the squat. Now we're taking these muscle groups a little bit more into last week, right? With the knees, the ankles, and the feet. And I'm just going to turn to the side so you can see what I'm starting with. And then the squatting, we start to take our hips a little bit further down and back. And our torso likely is going to counter that balance, counter that weight going back, right? Taking our head forward so we can stay balanced on our feet. Good. Let's do a few more, warming up the legs. And if you'd like a little bit more, if you've got a mirror nearby or you just want to watch as you keep going in your squatting, watching the knees going straight ahead, knees over middle toes. And are your knees doing that as you come lower, as you challenge the movement? Knees still in alignment, legs getting tired, knees still in alignment. Maybe the hands are going out like I'm doing, a little more balance out front. Good. And coming back up. All right, starting to feel a little more energy, a little heat in the body. That feels nice. All right, take your strap, or if you have an elastic, that's going to work just fine here. Block can go away for a moment, and let's come down to the floor. The sun's trying to come through outside and right into the window. I'll take it. And I'm just going to give myself a strap that has, maybe I'll double this up because it's so long. And then I've got a little more control. So coming down onto the floor, onto the back. And then let's take your foot in your band. I like to put the strap just below the ball of the foot. It's a little bit on the ball of the foot on the pinky side, just below the big toe mound. Feels good to just check in here to see how the shoulders feel, have the spine supported. And then my foot is up here. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this knee bend. You can have this knee bent as much as you'd like here. And strap was a little too short. I like it better like this. And you can keep it like that. In fact, I encourage you to. This other leg, you could keep in a bent position. It's a little more challenging this way, or you can take it out straight. We're going to have a little more help from the lower leg or the bottom leg if it's stretched out, because you can feel that once you take that foot out, how grounded your pelvis is. So we're going to do leg circles with a little help today with your band. So I'm going to have a little bend in my knee. I'm going to take that foot inward, down and out. pelvis staying nice and steady. The strap is there sort of to guide me, but not so much to hold it up. I mean, you can do as much as you'd like, right? If we really hold it a lot, well, we might feel like nice freedom in the hip. That feels good. And the less I hold on, the more I've got to use my belly, my leg muscles. And I'm just sort of guiding, seeing if I can find that nice circle. And it's not so much how far I go out or how far I go in. I find the most challenge when that heel dips down. Good. And release. I'm just going to kick my other foot up there, see if I can get a nice position on my strap or band. If you're using an elastic, that works fine. The elastics too, like if you use a really hefty one, it's going to give you more support. If you use a lighter tension band, you're going to be kind of like what I'm doing here, really light with my reins. It's almost like the reins of the horse. And let's take it in, down, out. A little softness in my knee. Make sure that I connect into the belly. Too straight in my leg, I end up using all the hip flexor muscles, which isn't a bad thing, but sometimes they're a little overused. Gonna go the other way, going to the outside, down, in, and back to center. Make sure you complete that circle. Belly completely turned on for me, but the hip socket, getting this really nice movement. Smooth circles. Good. Let's bring both feet up into that and just hold on. This time give yourself lots of support and let the low back relax onto the floor. And we'll just take a moment to check in here, relaxing the shoulders, the jaw, the face. Just a few minutes of practice here. If this is all we had time for, I can't say that it would be a bad thing, right? Feels like I got some leg work done. I've really settled into my body. Here I've given myself a little relaxation for the back, but we're going to continue onward. Okay, so let's see here. We don't want to forget to do the mini crunch, so let's get that in right now. Hands behind the head. I took one of Scott's classes, or kind of checked in with one of his mindful cardio. And as his feeling as we come up here into our mini crunch. But this is one of the most beneficial things he's done, I think, in the last 10 years in his own body work and in his teaching. It's coming into these mini crunch, some of the Pilates routines, slowly coming back. But in particular, connecting the ribs here, ribs into the belly, working with the obliques, working with those deeper abdominal muscles. Let's do that one more time. Finding the elbows in their just right position. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more breath here. Inhale. Nice deep breath. Exhale. Inhale, slowly come back as you inhale. Slowly inhale, slowly come back. Keep the ribs knitting, the muscles engaged until the head comes all the way down. And release. Awesome. Let's come onto your side and come all the way up to standing. So the next couple things, you might like to have something nearby to put your hands on. I mentioned before, I've got my mantle here, I've got the wall, and I've also got a chair if I need it. So we're going to talk a little bit about working in the hips and what muscles you want to be stretching out in the hips. So let's start with your feet hip distance apart and stepping back into a lunge-like position. So finding a place where the ball of the foot finds the floor, the heel, if it can be. You're looking back to see, can my heel line up back there? Just like we were doing earlier, knees forward. We want those heels in the same kind of orientation. So if I want to stretch out my quadricep, I'm really going to bend my knees a little bit more here. And I'm not going to be working so much in the hip flexor. So let's start with a few of these lunge-like positions. Lunging and back up. A little pull here for sure. Good. Good. And this last one, let's come down here, pause. And then if you'd like to, if you have that balance piece, take yourself away from that lower leg. So turning the chest away from the leg that's going downward. And you could also have your hands on the wall, have it on the mantle, the chair. And now come up, come back to center, and let's step forward. Checking in with sensations. Sometimes I challenge myself to check in with the sensations without wobbling around, without shaking it out. Not really a good or bad thing. I just think it's interesting. Go ahead and take it back. Take your second side back. Foot is back. Checking in with my heel. And the same on this side. Bending that back knee, bending the front knee. Good. We're going to come back down again to pause. Pausing in that down position. And can I turn a little bit away from that bottom leg? Now maybe I've got a chair to hang on to. A little deep tug in that with that leg down there. Coming back up, stepping forward. Maybe you wiggle, maybe you pause. Relaxing the jaw. Good, similar. We're going to take that foot back. I've taken it back probably just a little bit, an inch or two back further. And again, getting my balance, feeling the balls of the feet, really connecting. This time, back leg straight. So even as you start, probably already sensing, depending on your body and what you've been doing, a little bit of tug right in the front of the hip. Those are the hip flexors, right? Bending the front knee is going to up the ante there. So go ahead. And you'll see I'm bending my knee just a little bit. I could go further. I'm just testing the waters on this side. Back leg nice and straight. Belly is going to pull in. The more I go forward with that front knee, and here I'm going to pause, belly pulling inward, hands at the waist, gaze even with the eyes. Reach back through your back heel. If you'd like to, bringing hands to heart center, pressing the palms together, energy, pressing the hands together. If you'd like to, giving a little lean back here, leaning back with the head, the shoulders. But the more we do that, belly, belly, belly. Coming back to straight up and down. Coming forward, and we're going to use that forward to take our foot forward. And again, I'm going to just check in. That was a big stretch. How does it feel in standing? softening the mouth and jaw. Side 2, taking the foot back, coming to standing, straight legs. Nice upright spine, taking the knee forward and back, forward and back. If it feels like it's too much, either don't move the knee so far, or maybe you take that back leg a little bit further forward. Good. Knee forward, pausing. Back leg nice and straight. Taking the knee down and back behind, or taking the heel down and back behind you. The more we do that, belly working, supporting a low back, hands at the waist or hands at heart center, pressing the palms together. Knee might have just a little more bend in it. All right, so we worked really nicely front of the body here, both in the quadriceps, which is part of keeping everything in line here. Quadriceps having that nice health. They're used, but they're not too tight, not too loose. And then we've got the side also, right? The side of the legs. So let's take our feet apart here. Turning one foot out, turning the back foot in. And letting the hips go along with that, not completely toward the front, not opening to the side of the mat. And let's check in with your knee back here. So knee health, foot back there. I said turn the foot in. So double check, did you turn your foot in back there? Not so much that it's coming forward, kind of that in between, not parallel with the back and not straight ahead. And the hips I'm going to let come a little more toward the corner of the mat up there. Bending the front knee, just like last week. We worked with this one last week because it feels so nice to work with the ankle back there. This week we work with it to see that the knee is taken care of, that it's in a nice alignment. So when we turn in the back foot, the knee and the hip all in that same similar direction, right? A little more of a diagonal, but we're not trying to torque on it. We're not trying to take the hips square. We're not trying to make the foot square and then turn the knee. Plus the hip doesn't really do it so well either. So coming here to pause. And again, I'm going to check in. Looking at you, I wanted to turn everything that way. I'm going to turn it a little more again toward the front, tipping over at the hip crease. Come to your hand and rely on your hand. Lots of bend here for this other hip. Lots of opening in this side of the hip. Good. Now we can take the hand to the heart and then swivel the heart maybe toward your monitor. And then if you'd like, hand could come upward or even look upward if you'd like. Now you can look any direction. If that doesn't feel good to look upward, that doesn't feel especially great for me today, keep looking forward or even turn the head to look down. Good. Take my hand back to my heart, turn my heart toward my bottom knee, straighten up, and come back to standing. Bring the feet in a little bit closer. Toes forward, toes inward, and then let's come forward here. Hands could be on the legs, on the floor. Take a nice deep breath in. Nice deep breath in and out. And then coming up one piece at a time. Turning the other foot out, turning your back foot in. If we're taking care of the back knee, it's nice and straight. We're really working the muscles in the quadriceps, hamstrings, everything's working in these big skeletal muscles to hold the knee in place. The foot's in a great alignment. Front knee bends. Self-care in our practice. Alignment can be really nice. Good. Not so much about doing it right and wrong. Going to take that bend in the knee here for a bend in the hip, coming to your side angle, hand at the knee. And then taking your hand to your heart space, allowing the heart space to open. So we get a lot of twist in the spine. You can keep your hand here or bring your hand to the waist or bring that arm upward. And then testing out where you'd like to look. How does it feel to look upward, center, or downward? Back leg nice and straight. Sometimes we get a little bit buckly, a little bit, the back knee there wants to shy away from lengthening into the heel. Now bring your hand back to your heart space, turn your head and heart back toward the floor, and we'll come back to standing. And this time walk the feet underneath you. Good. All right. Let's do the arms all the way up. Mine are going to get a little cut off here, but fingertips straight upward. And I'm going to sense each outside of my legs here. So maybe even give yourself that sense down the side, all the way to the outside of your foot. So if you need to give yourself that check-in and a reminder, there's where I'd like to really be checking into. And coming back to that work we did earlier, right? Kind of pushing outward. You could try that again, pushing outward without anything going straight out, like we've got that block. And relaxing that. And then taking the arms overhead. And then let's do our little side bend, but anchor into that side body all the way to your outside of your foot. Come back to center. Reaching over, anchoring down into the foot over there. Outside edge. And back to center. And back to center. And center. And back to center. Good. All right, in this position, let's take a little bit more of that squatting position we had earlier, knees coming forward, seat coming downward. And let's do a little shift here, lifting one heel up and coming back to center. Shift, lift the other, and back to center. Doing that a few times here. You could even take that foot all the way off, balancing here. I don't know about you, but I start to feel lots of good, deep work in the body. Deep work around femur, pelvis, sit bone, balancing on one side. Yeah, nicely done. Bring your feet back to center, come back up to standing. I forgot to ask about anybody doing the January challenge. So before you head out today, make sure you put that into the chat. I'll ask again at the end, I hope. Good. Bring your hands to the back of the head. Feet are a little closer together. We're going to bend the knees. Got some nice work for the ankles. No extra charge. Let's give this a little crossover and back to center. Come up. Bend, crossover, shoulder toward knee, back to center and up. Bend, shoulder, center, coming up. Bend, shoulder, center, coming up. Two more, one more on each side. Knees in good alignment and coming back up. Very nice. All right, I'd like to come to the floor here. I'm going to bring something for my knees. Got a couple of layers here. I'm going to be on my knee for a moment. Good. So a couple things I want to do. I'm going to walk the knees out. And here's another place where it's nice to have a little stability. So I'm going to bring my chair nearby, just in case I need it. Hands can be at the waist. So I'm going to shift my weight and see if I can bring that leg upward or even just outward here, right? And back, out and back. Take that foot just a little away from where it was. And maybe swinging that foot leg all the way out, or you can swing it through center, all the way out in front. And then let's lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower, lift. Tipping over, trying not to tip over while I do this. Lift and hold. Can I hold it there? Probably like a second, 2, 3 seconds. Whew, that's it. And bringing that leg back. Good. Go ahead and shake it out, but this time you're on your knees. I'm going to take this one more step here. So I'm going to take that foot out. Now maybe that foot is back here behind you a little bit. Maybe the knee needs to stay bent. See where it feels okay to bring that foot out. Nice straight knee. This is a tricky one, isn't it? Knee forward, toes forward. Maybe I'm going to lift that heel up so everything can stay in line. And then let's take that leg, that arm over. Nice long stretch. What it looks like if my leg is back there, that's fine too. What it looks like if my knee is down. And coming back. Switch sides. Shifting, I'm going to see how this leg feels, kind of testing the waters to come outward, to come through the middle and back, come through the middle and back, outward. Is that outward pretty interesting for you? It is for me. So we get a lot of this outside line. Good. And now let's do our lift and lower in the front again. So pressing down through my knee, up and down, up and down. Good. Yeah. Up and hold. Now if I take my hand away from my, whew, taking my hand away, tricky business to hold that leg up. And I would bring that leg again back to the floor. So let's do something a little bit different than the other side. If you'd like, if this feels okay for you, you can take that leg straight. If you'd like to try something else, you could take the knees wide just so you've got enough to balance on over there and do your overhead, over the head stretch. So much like when we were on our feet. And I'm going to bring that knee in again, just a little bit, and reach over. Good. Notice if you're doing any movement of your hip and what happens, right, to get into this whole side of the leg. Good. Side body of the hip, kind of the lateral side. Very good. Okay. Moving things off my mat. Maybe I'll leave my blanket for the center. I'm going to come to the side here and down onto my forearm. So a couple different ways we can work in this one. We could have the forearm down, hand outward. You can also try this way with it. But what I'd like to work with is our side lift, but also this outside leg, or upper leg. So coming up, we get a lot of core work, good for the hip. This bottom leg, actually, knee down there is pressing down, working that outside of the leg. 3, 2, 1, and come down. And go ahead and come back up. And we do one more time on this side. Elbow below the shoulder. If your shoulder was complaining, see how you can adjust. And sometimes when we lift up, things change. So you might find just the right orientation. Come down and adjust. Lifting up, really pressing down with this leg, using my core. Top leg could reach out. Toe, heel, toe. Toe, heel, toe. Re-energizing your push down with the bottom leg. 3, 2, 1. And coming up. Let's head right over to the other side. Checking in. Not an easy pose. Checking in with the mouth and jaw. Elbow under the shoulder. Enough padding for the bony parts of the arm here. Pressing down. I want to reach down into that elbow, into the forearm, lift up. Maybe my legs are staying together here. Maybe I'm taking one leg out. Pressing down. We really work that outside edge of the leg that we were just doing a little stretching with. Gonna come up off the arm. Soften the face. One more. Elbow underneath the shoulder. Pressing down. Reaching out. Knee pushing down there. Even my lower leg is a little bit pushing down. 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to bring the hips down. Good. Let's come down to the floor. So onto your back. Checking in here with, did a little bit of a more challenging pose at the end there. Your heart rate might be a little up. And then take one leg over, if it feels okay to do so, crossing the legs. Crossing the legs like you would if you were sitting in a chair, as long as there's no pinching in the inner, in the groin area. And then if you'd like, bringing those legs toward you. And you can hang on to the legs somewhere if you'd like. Again, self-care means doing no harm. And we don't always have to feel things to the nth degree to have benefit. And then we're going to bring the legs back down and unfold them and cross them the other way. Crossing the knees, crossing the thighs, and slowly bringing them in as long as everything feels okay. If it doesn't, pause, stay there, and even unfold them. And releasing the cheekbones, the muscles around the cheekbones. Releasing the low back in this, what might feel kind of nice pose here for the low back. If there's any pulling or pinching in the hip sockets, we want to probably back off. Don't pull, don't make things go there. That means you might be hitting a little bone on bone, or your cartilage might not be as thick as it once was. So letting your legs come back to straight here. Bringing the hands down at your sides and imagining you have that block. And if it's nearby, you can always put it between the knees as well. I'll leave mine there and just do some really good imagining that my knees could push in on that block. So whether you have the block in place, if it's nearby, you've got really long arms and it's right there. And then let's see if we can do our bridge pose with the knees having that idea of a block between them, or the real thing. Block between the knees, and you can choose the width of that block, and coming back down. Inhaling, exhaling, lift up. Now, what if that band was on the legs? In this one, what if you needed to push out into the band? Without the legs splaying open, the idea of tension to push against outward. 3, 2, 1. Coming back down. Drawing the knees in or up. Let's give them a nice little stretch upward. Draw the knees in then and roll to your side. And bring your head or your hand underneath your head. Or you can draw in a pillow. Take that top arm upward and look at it. Turn your head to look at your arm. Exhale. And let your chest open up. Remember how earlier we had our hand on our chest? You might do that if your head's okay. And the chest is opening. And maybe you're gazing back at the palm. Maybe you're gazing back at your knees. Did they shift? Did that top leg shift way backward? See if you can bring that leg back over the knee. One more breath. Bringing that hand upward, drawing the knees in. We'll go right over to the other side. Knees stacked. Hand under the head or at the heart space. Taking that arm up and looking at the hand. Exhaling. Heart space opening toward the ceiling. Knees staying together. So maybe my arm doesn't go all the way back. I purposely kept myself away, turned away from you so you could see there's lots of space between my shoulder and the floor. Inhaling and exhaling. And then coming back onto that side. And you can rest right here. Belly releasing, ribs releasing. And then as you're ready, bringing your legs back to center, coming back onto your back. And then whichever side works for you to come up from, rolling to that side. To find your way up, all the way up to seated. And finished. So onward into the day, and really glad to be here with all of you. If you have any questions or comments you want to share vocally or in the chat, I'll hang out for a couple of minutes here. But hope everybody has a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you again real soon. Tomorrow is Pilates and Strength. See you soon. Oh, I need to know if you are doing the challenge. Por favor. Thank you.
Thanks, Ingrid.